Lucas had always felt at peace under the night sky, his telescope pointed towards the stars, in search of something extraordinary. That night, with the crisp autumn air biting at his cheeks, he got more than he bargained for. A streak of light flashed across the sky, not the slow burn of a meteor, but the sharp, controlled descent of something engineered. Curiosity overcame caution as he followed the trail with his telescope, tracking the object as it descended into the nearby forest. Grabbing his jacket and flashlight, Lucas set out towards the crash site, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and apprehension. He reached the site after a brisk walk, finding a small craft partially buried in the earth, its surface gleaming under his flashlight. As he approached cautiously, the hatch hissed open, and a figure stepped out. Not human, clearly not human, with iridescent skin and eyes that caught the light like faceted gems. "Whoa, easy there," Lucas called out, stopping in his tracks, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. The alien, looking around in confusion and mild panic, responded in a language that bubbled and clicked, impossible for Lucas to understand. Seeing the alien's distress, Lucas slowly took out his phone, using it to translate a simple greeting. "Hello, I'm Lucas. I mean no harm," he spoke slowly into the translator, hoping it could make sense of his words. The alien tilted her head, listening as the device garbled out a translation. A moment passed, and then, hesitantly, she spoke a few words in broken English. Ilara. No harm, need help." Lucas smiled, a bit of tension easing from his shoulders. "Ilara, okay. My name is Lucas. Can I help you with your ship?" Ilara gestured towards the damaged vessel with a graceful hand, her voice tinged with distress. "Broken, not fly. Hide." "Hide, yes, I can help you hide it," Lucas agreed, understanding the gravity of her request. Together, they covered the craft with branches and foliage, concealing it from casual eyes. With the ship sufficiently hidden, Lucas led Ilara back to his house, explaining slowly, "You can stay with me. I have a guest room. Safe." Ilara's eyes widened as she took in her surroundings, her gaze lingering on the stars still visible through the gaps in the trees. "You watch stars?" she asked, pointing towards his telescope. "Yes, I love astronomy," Lucas replied, finding common ground. "I spend many nights just looking up." "Same," Ilara nodded, her expression brightening with a shared interest. "I study stars. From sky." As they reached his home, Lucas showed Ilara to the guest room, offering her some human clothes he thought might fit. "You might be more comfortable in these while I wash your suit. It's a bit dirty from the crash." Ilara accepted the clothes with a nod, her movements tentative but graceful. "Thank you, Lucas. You kind." "It's no trouble," Lucas assured her, feeling a profound sense of responsibility for her well-being. "Tomorrow, we can figure out what you need to fix your ship. And maybe you can tell me more about where you come from." Ilara agreed, a slight smile touching her lips. "I would like that." As Lucas left her to settle in, he couldn't help but feel that his quiet life was about to change dramatically. Little did he know just how much they would learn from each other, their encounter under the stars marking the beginning of an extraordinary chapter. Chapter 2. First Contact. The morning sun filtered through the curtains as Lucas prepared breakfast, the aroma of coffee and toast filling the kitchen. He was eager to make Ilara feel at home, though he wasn't quite sure what an alien might like to eat. Deciding to stick with something simple, he placed an assortment of foods on the table. Ilara emerged from the guest room, wearing the clothes Lucas had provided. They were a bit loose, but she seemed comfortable, her curiosity evident as she examined everything in the room with keen interest. "Good morning," Lucas greeted, motioning towards the table. "I wasn't sure what you eat, so I just prepared some basic human foods. Please, help yourself." "Thank you, Lucas," Ilara responded, her gaze lingering on the spread. She tentatively picked up a slice of toast, sniffing it lightly before taking a small bite. Her face brightened. "Good," she declared. Lucas watched with a mixture of amusement and relief. "I'm glad you like it. I hope you slept well." Yes, thank you. Your planet. It's very quiet at night, Ilara noted, her voice carrying a hint of nostalgia. As they ate, Lucas decided to broach more practical matters. So, about your ship. What do you need to repair it? Ilara set down her toast, her expression turning serious. My ship needs new power crystals. The crash damaged them. Without power, I cannot communicate or travel. Power crystals, huh? Lucas mused, rubbing his chin. I don't suppose those are anything like batteries? Similar, but much more complex. I doubt Earth has the technology, Ilara said, her tone apologetic. But maybe there is something we can use temporarily. Lucas nodded, deep in thought. Well, let's take a look. I might not know much about alien tech, but I'm pretty good with Earth tech. Maybe I can rig something up. They spent the morning examining the damaged ship, Lucas following Ilara's instructions as she explained her technology. Despite the complexity, Lucas found himself fascinated by the alien engineering, his natural curiosity driving him to understand. As they worked, they talked more about each other's worlds. Lucas shared stories of Earth's wonders and challenges, while Ilara spoke of her travels between stars, her mission to study developing civilizations, and how an error had brought her here. I didn't intend to make contact, Ilara admitted as they took a break. But now that I have, I find your world intriguing. Lucas smiled. I'm glad you crashed here then, even if you didn't mean to. It's not every day you get to meet someone from the stars. Ilara chuckled, the sound light and musical. I am also glad, Lucas. You've been very kind to me. I hope I can return the favor someday. In the meantime, Lucas suggested, maybe you can teach me more about your technology. And I can show you more of Earth. That sounds like an equitable exchange, Ilara agreed, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. By the end of the day, they had managed to temporarily repair the ship's communication system using modified Earth batteries and some clever engineering on Lucas's part. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough for Ilara to send a distress signal to her people. Sitting back, covered in grease and dirt, Lucas laughed. We make a pretty good team, you know. Ilara nodded, her smile bright under the smudges of dirt on her face. Yes, we do. That evening, as they sat watching the stars emerge, the bond between them had solidified. Two strangers from different worlds, they had found a common ground, their first contact blossoming into a friendship built on mutual respect and curiosity. Chapter 3. A Shared Sky. Ilara and Lucas sat side by side in his backyard, a telescope positioned between them under the vast expanse of the night sky. The stars twinkled above, each one a story, each one a part of the universe's sprawling tapestry that Ilara knew intimately and that Lucas longed to understand better. See that cluster there? Lucas pointed towards a dense group of stars in the northern sky. We call that the Beehive Cluster. It's one of the nearest open clusters to Earth. Ilara leaned in to look through the telescope. In my language, it's called Serenuv, which means the swarm of lights. Our perceptions are not so different, Lucas. It's amazing, isn't it? Lucas smiled, taking a moment to appreciate not just the sky but the connection forming over such shared experiences. How about showing me something from your sky? With a nod, Ilara adjusted the telescope slightly and guided his gaze toward a faint nebula. That is what we call Loritha's Cradle. It's a star nursery, a place where new stars are born. It's visible from my home planet. The idea that we can see the same star formation from Earth it's mind-blowing, Lucas remarked, genuinely awestruck. They continued this way for hours, swapping stories and constellations, the night air cool and comfortable around them. Lucas was quick to offer Ilara a blanket, which she accepted with a smile, her understanding of human gestures of care deepening. As the evening progressed, Lucas turned the conversation to music, another human art form he was eager to share. Music is another way we interpret our feelings and the universe around us, he explained, pulling up songs on his phone. Ilara listened intently to each song, from classical pieces to modern ballads. "There is rhythm in the cosmos," she observed, "and you have captured it in your music, much like we do, but with different instruments." Encouraged by her interest, Lucas suggested, "Would you like to try playing something?" He brought out an old guitar, explaining the basics of chords and strums. With hesitant fingers, Elara plucked at the strings, the sounds initially awkward but growing smoother with Lucas's patient guidance. "It's like the vibrations of the stars," she said, a note of wonder in her voice as she strummed a simple melody. Lucas watched her, impressed by her quick learning curve. "You're a natural," he complimented, which made Elara laugh, a sound he found he was growing quite fond of. The night wound down with them, exchanging more about their cultures. Lucas talked about Earth's various peoples and histories, while Elara shared tales of interstellar alliances and cosmic phenomena that she had witnessed in her travels. As they packed up the telescope, Elara turned to Lucas. "This sharing of knowledge and culture, it enriches us, doesn't it?" "It does," Lucas agreed. "I feel like I understand not just more about the universe, but also about you." "And I, about you and your world," Elara added, helping him carry the equipment back inside. They parted ways for the night at the doorstep, the sky lighter now with the approaching dawn. Both felt a profound sense of connection, not just to each other but to the greater cosmos that was their home. The night had deepened their friendship, bridging human and alien experiences under the shared sky that watched over them both. Chapter 4: Earthbound Explorations. The morning was bright and full of promise as Lucas and Elara set out to explore more of Earth together. Lucas had planned a day trip to a nearby national park, eager to show Elara some of Earth's natural wonders that he'd only ever mentioned in passing during their nightly observations. As they drove, Elara watched the landscape change from urban sprawl to lush greenery with wide-eyed interest. "Your planet has such diverse environments," she remarked, pressing her face slightly closer to the car window. "It does," Lucas agreed, turning the car onto a winding path that led deeper into the forest. "Wait until you see the waterfalls. They're not just beautiful, they sound like the planet is speaking to us." Upon reaching their destination, they embarked on a trail that meandered through towering trees and over streams filled with clear, rushing water. Lucas pointed out various wildlife along the way, explaining the ecosystem's delicate balance. "This is a Douglas fir," he said, patting the trunk of a massive tree. "Some of them are over 1,000 years old." "1,000 years," Elara repeated, a tone of reverence in her voice. "Living history." They continued their hike until the sound of water thundering reached their ears, growing louder as they approached the main attraction of their trip, the waterfalls. The sight was spectacular, water cascading down rocky precipices into a mist-filled basin below. Elara was mesmerized, watching the water flow with an intense focus. "The power and tranquility are overwhelming," she said, her voice barely above a whisper as if to honor the majesty of the scene. Lucas smiled, watching her reaction. "Humans find a lot of peace in nature. It reminds us that some things are bigger than our daily worries." They spent several hours at the site, Elara taking time to meditate by the water's edge, an alien practice she shared with Lucas. He found the meditation soothing, a quiet reflection that deepened the bond forming between them. As the day wore on, they shared a picnic by the river, Lucas having packed Earth foods he now knew Elara enjoyed. They talked freely, their conversation flowing as easily as the river beside them. "When I first arrived, I was frightened," Elara admitted as they packed up to leave. "But sharing this time with you, learning about your world, it's made me feel more at home than I ever thought possible." Lucas nodded, understanding her sentiment. "I'm glad you feel that way because you've shown me that friendship doesn't recognize planetary boundaries." On the drive back, they made plans to visit a museum next, Lucas keen to introduce Elara to more human history and art. "That sounds wonderful," Elara said, her enthusiasm evident. "Every piece of your history tells a story, much like the stars." "Yes, and I can't wait to see what stories you'll share next," Lucas replied, a sense of anticipation for their future explorations lighting up his expression. As they returned to Lucas's home, the day's end found them closer, their spirits enriched by the shared experiences and the knowledge that their journey together was just beginning. Chapter 5. Intimate Horizons. After a day spent immersed in Earth's natural wonders, Lucas and Elara found themselves sitting in the backyard once again, a familiar spot where they had shared many deep conversations. Tonight, however, the atmosphere felt different, charged with an unspoken anticipation as they gazed up at the starry sky. Elara broke the silence, her voice soft but clear. "Lucas, do you ever wonder what it would be like to explore not just planets, but the emotions and connections between beings from different worlds?" Lucas turned to look at her, his heart skipping a beat at the earnestness in her eyes. "I do, especially lately. There's so much we can learn from each other, not just about stars or cultures, but about feelings." They continued to talk, their conversation drifting towards the personal. Lucas shared more about his past, his dreams, and what the stars meant to him as more than just celestial bodies. They were symbols of hope and curiosity. "And you, Elara?" Lucas asked, turning slightly to face her. "What do stars mean to you?" "To me, stars are guides, reminders of where I've been and where I might go next," Elara replied, her gaze meeting his. "But since arriving here, they've started to mean something else. They remind me of you." The confession hung in the air between them, a delicate truth that made Lucas's breath catch. Before he could respond, Elara reached out her hand, palm open, towards him. It was an invitation, a gesture of trust and more. Lucas took her hand, the contact sending a jolt of electricity through him. They moved closer, guided by a mutual desire to bridge the space between them. Elara's hand was cool and smooth, so different yet so right. "Lucas," Elara whispered as they faced each other, only inches apart. I would like to experience more about being human. Would you teach me?" Her question was laden with layers of meaning, and Lucas understood what she was asking. He nodded, his voice a low murmur. "Yes, I'd like that very much." Slowly, hesitantly, their faces drew nearer until their lips met in a gentle kiss. The kiss was a discovery, soft and tentative at first but growing deeper and more assured as they both responded to the rising tide of emotions. They pulled apart slightly, breathless. Lucas's hands moved to cup Elara's face, his thumbs gently stroking her cheeks. "Is this okay?" he asked, every nerve acutely aware of her. "Yes," she breathed out, her own hands finding their way to his shoulders, grounding herself in the new sensations. Their kisses deepened, the world around them fading into a blur as they explored the new dimensions of their relationship. It was a connection of both mind and body, a silent conversation between stars and hearts. As the night deepened, they remained outside, wrapped in each other's arms, the earlier kiss evolving into a shared understanding that they were on the cusp of something profound. "This is new for me," Elara admitted, her voice a mix of wonder and vulnerability. "Feeling this connection, this closeness." "For me, too," Lucas said, his voice steady despite the racing of his heart. "But it feels right, doesn't it?" "It does," she agreed, resting her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his human heart. They stayed like that for a long time, under the blanket of stars, feeling the pulse of the earth and the distant hum of the universe around them, two beings from different worlds finding common ground where their hearts rose together. Chapter 6. The Language of Touch. The morning light streamed through the curtains, casting a warm glow over Lucas and Elara as they shared a quiet breakfast. The events of the previous night lingered in the air, a mix of anticipation and newfound intimacy enveloping them. Elara, more curious than ever about human emotions and sensations, broached the subject that was on both their minds. "Lucas, last night was very special to me. I feel more connected to you, to this world. Can you tell me more about how humans view this kind of closeness?" Lucas set down his cup, his mind searching for the right words. "For us, it's about sharing. Sharing feelings, experiences, even life itself. When we care deeply about someone, we express it in many ways, through touch, through words, through actions." Elara nodded thoughtfully. "In my culture, we also share, but it's more cerebral. We connect minds, share thoughts. What we did last night, connecting through touch, it's very different. I find it very grounding. Lucas smiled gently, reaching across the table to take her hand. It's grounding for us too. It makes the feelings more real, more tangible. Encouraged by her eagerness to understand, Lucas proposed an idea. Would you like to spend the day together, just exploring these human ways of connecting? Maybe go deeper into what it means to feel. Ilara's eyes lit up, a clear yes. I would like that very much. They spent the morning walking in the nearby park, hand in hand, occasionally stopping to embrace or share a gentle kiss. Lucas took these moments to explain the human concept of affection through physical touch, each demonstration deepening their bond. As they sat on a park bench, Lucas spoke about his past relationships, about the joys and challenges they brought. Ilara listened intently, absorbing every word, every nuance of his experiences. Humans seem to navigate complex emotions, Ilara observed, her tone mixed with admiration and curiosity. It's beautiful how expressive and passionate you are. Lucas chuckled softly. It can be beautiful, but it's not always easy. We make mistakes, we get hurt, but we also learn and grow. I guess that's part of being human. I'm learning that, Ilara agreed, squeezing his hand. Learning and growing with you. Later, they found a secluded spot by a small lake. Lucas had brought a blanket, and they sat close together, watching the water ripple gently in the breeze. Here, in the quiet solitude, Lucas guided Ilara through a meditation on human emotions, focusing on feelings of peace, happiness, and love. Ilara closed her eyes, her breathing slowing as she immersed herself in the experience. When she opened them again, there was a profound sense of calm in her gaze. This is very powerful, Lucas, she whispered. I've never felt so present. It's one of the gifts of being human, Lucas replied, his voice soft. We have the ability to be fully in the moment, especially with someone we care about. As the day turned into evening, they remained by the lake, the sky painting hues of orange and pink above them. They talked about hopes for the future, about possible challenges they might face from both their societies, and how they might overcome them together. We have a lot to navigate, Ilara said, her voice steady but full of emotion. But I believe what we are building is worth any challenge. I believe that too, Lucas affirmed, pulling her close. No matter what comes, we'll face it together. As they walked back home, their hearts were full, their spirits intertwined. They had explored the language of touch, of emotion, and had found a new depth to their relationship, a depth that promised to sustain them through whatever lay ahead. Chapter 7. Converging Worlds. As Lucas and Ilara's relationship deepened, the world around them seemed to take notice. One crisp morning, as they walked through the town, they felt the weight of curious stares and whispering voices. The reality of their unique bond was becoming public, and with it came the inevitable mixture of fascination and skepticism from the community. In a quiet cafe, over steaming cups of coffee, they addressed the elephant in the room. People are starting to talk, Lucas said, his brow furrowed slightly as he glanced out the window at a couple passing by, their eyes darting curiously towards the cafe. Ilara nodded, her expression serene yet alert. I expected this. My presence here is not something that can remain hidden forever, especially not from a close-knit community. Lucas sighed, taking a sip of his coffee. I worry about what this means for you, for us. Humans can be unpredictable when faced with the unknown. Ilara reached across the table, her hand covering his. And yet, here I am, welcomed into your home, your life. Not all unpredictability is negative. Some of it leads to wonderful things, like us. Encouraged by her optimism, Lucas smiled. You're right. We should focus on the positive and deal with challenges as they come. Speaking of which, how do you feel about meeting a few more people? Officially, I think it's a necessary step, Ilara agreed. It's important that they see me as you see me, not just as an alien, but as someone who cares deeply about this world and its people. With a plan in mind, Lucas organized a small gathering for the following weekend, inviting a mix of close friends and influential community members. The aim was to formally introduce Ilara and share their story in a controlled, friendly environment. The day of the gathering arrived, and their small home was filled with the buzz of conversation and gentle music. Lucas introduced Ilara, who, despite her calm demeanor, held a slight tension in her shoulders, aware of the significance of this meeting. As guests mingled, Lucas stayed close to Ilara, supporting her as she navigated conversations, explaining her mission on Earth, her background, and, most importantly, the nature of their relationship. One of the guests, a local journalist named Mark, approached with a kind but inquisitive look. "Ilara, if you don't mind me asking, what's been the most surprising aspect of human culture for you?" Ilara thought for a moment before answering. "Your art and music," she responded warmly. "They are universal languages that transcend spoken words. They've taught me a lot about human emotions and connections." Mark nodded, clearly impressed. "And what about you, Lucas? How has this relationship changed your perspective?" "It's broadened it immensely," Lucas admitted. "Ilara brings a viewpoint that challenges what I thought I knew about the universe and our place in it. It's a remarkable journey." As the evening progressed, the initial wariness from some guests seemed to melt away, replaced by fascination and even acceptance. The success of the night was palpable, as conversations around them buzzed with excitement and curiosity rather than suspicion. After the last guest had left, Ilara and Lucas collapsed onto the couch, a mixture of relief and contentment washing over them. "We did well, didn't we?" Ilara asked, her voice tired but happy. "We did," Lucas confirmed, wrapping an arm around her. "It feels like we've turned a page, doesn't it?" "Yes," Ilara sighed, resting her head on his shoulder. "A new chapter, not just for us, but for everyone. Together, we're showing that different worlds can converge, not in conflict, but in harmony." That night, as they looked up at the stars from their backyard, the future seemed not just hopeful but promising. They had taken a significant step towards blending their worlds, one conversation at a time, laying the groundwork for a future where human hearts and alien stars could rise together. Chapter 8. Where Hearts Rise. The morning after their successful gathering, Lucas and Ilara took a long walk along the riverside, the early light casting a golden glow over the water. They felt a new sense of unity, not just between themselves but with the community. Their path forward seemed clear, but they knew there were still challenges ahead. "Last night was a turning point," Lucas remarked, holding Ilara's hand tightly as they walked. "But we need to think about what's next. How do we build on this momentum?" Ilara nodded, her gaze fixed on the river flowing beside them. "We start by engaging more with the community. Perhaps I can offer lectures about my technology and culture. Education breeds understanding." "That's a brilliant idea," Lucas responded enthusiastically. "And I can arrange exhibitions showcasing artifacts from your world alongside our human inventions. A sort of cultural exchange on a grander scale." Excited by their plans, they discussed logistics, potential venues, and the people who could help make their vision a reality. As they talked, a man approached them, a neighbor, Mr. Jensen, who had attended the gathering the previous night. "Lucas, Ilara, good morning." Mr. Jensen greeted them warmly. "I just wanted to say how much I enjoyed last night. Ilara, you opened my eyes to the wonders beyond our little planet." "Thank you, Mr. Jensen," Ilara replied, her voice filled with genuine appreciation. "I'm glad to hear that. We're hoping to organize more events like that. Maybe even include some educational programs." "I'd love to help," Mr. Jensen offered. "I have a few contacts in the local schools and the community center. Kids and adults alike should hear what you have to say." Grateful for his support, Lucas and Ilara thanked him, promising to get in touch soon to discuss the details. As Mr. Jensen walked away, Lucas looked at Ilara, his heart full of pride. "See, we're already making an impact. And with people like Mr. Jensen on our side, I'm sure we can reach even more hearts and minds." The rest of their walk was spent in comfortable silence, each lost in thoughts of the future they were building together. When they returned home, they sat down with a map of the town, plotting points of interest for their cultural exchange initiatives. As they worked, Ilara paused and looked up at Lucas. "You know, despite the initial reasons for my crash landing here, I can't help but feel it was meant to be. Being here with you, planning all this, it feels right." Lucas reached across the table, taking her hand. "I feel the same way. You didn't just crash into the forest that night. You crashed into my life, changing it forever. And I wouldn't have it any other way." They smiled at each other, a silent acknowledgement of their deep connection. That evening, as they prepared for a small informal dinner, just the two of them, the doorbell rang. It was a delivery. Copies of the first pamphlet they had created together, titled "Where Alien Stars Fall and Human Hearts Rise Together." Holding the pamphlet, Lucas felt a surge of accomplishment. "This is just the beginning, Ilara. Together, we'll show the world that love and understanding have no bounds." Ilara took the pamphlet, her eyes scanning the title, a soft smile playing on her lips. "Together," she echoed, her voice resolute. As they set the table, the pamphlet stacked neatly to one side, the future seemed bright. They were ready to face any challenges that came their way, knowing that their love and their mission to unite their worlds would guide them through.